I'm Brian Wilson alongside Larry O'Connor.
If Iran is to acquire a nuclear bomb, it will not have my name on it.
Senator Bob Menendez yesterday on the floor of the Senate. I'm not sure if he was on the floor of the Senate. I'm sorry. I just assume so, but he probably wasn't since they're not in session. Senator Bob Menendez yesterday saying, no, he will not vote for Barack Obama and John Kerry's Iran nuclear deal. Now, of course, it has to be said that Senator Menendez is now under very tight scrutiny in an FBI investigation. Many cynics in this town will say that he's under that investigation because he spoke out against the Iran nuclear deal and against the Obama administration's ties with Cuba. But setting that aside, that's now two prominent Democrats, Menendez and Chuck Schumer, and also yesterday Bob Corker of Tennessee, who is often seen as potentially someone who could support the Iran nuclear deal, even though he's a Republican. He also said he will not support it. KT McFarland is a Fox national security analyst and joins us right now. Well, based on what you know, is this making a difference in the Senate? Are there starting to be some rumblings that maybe this won't pass?
Well, you have to see what the senators all find out when they go to their home districts and then return in September. And I'm not a very good Senate vote counter, but I can tell you that this Iran deal, it's like a smelly old onion. You know, the more you peel away, the worse it smells. And first of all, when it started, Obama and Kerry said, well, we got 24/7 ability to inspect all their important sites. And then the Iranians came back to say, no, anytime, no anyplace inspections, and hands off our military sites, and we'll decide who gets to come and inspect.
Right.
And then Kerry Obama said, well, because of this deal, Iran is going to cooperate on other contentious issues in the Middle East. They're going to be a force for good. Well, that's not happened. The Iranian supreme leader has come out and said, no, we're not changing. In fact, we're going to give assistance to Hamas and Hezbollah and our friends. Then another justification for it was, well, this may not be a perfect deal, but it's really going to be a foundation for improving U.S.-Iran relations. Wrong again. The Iranian supreme general was just in Moscow cutting new deals for arms deliveries, and by the way, breaking the embargo to do it. And the Russians and the Iranians are now, looks like, cozying up. The foreign ministers are meeting and presumably setting up a military supply relationship.
Okay,
so it gets worse and worse and worse every minute you look at it.
And look, there are still some votes to be counted here, and in fact, I used to be one of those people who counted votes on Capitol Hill. That was my job, and one of the things that I've seen lately is Mitch McConnell saying, "Look, ultimately, it looks like the president will prevail in this matter because there may not be enough votes to override a veto. So it may go down the first time, but when he vetoes it, it will be hard for the Senate and the House to override the veto. So I guess my question comes, well, if this actually gets implemented, what does it mean?
Well, I think what it means is it ignites a couple of things. It ignites a nuclear arms race in the Middle East because Iran's getting nukes, okay, face it. This administration and the previous administration so bungled every part of this that Iran is a threshold nuclear state. The only question that remains is, does Iran change by the time it gets nuclear weapons? I think the Obama administration is banking on the fact that we're going to have this great new relationship with them, and somehow the Iranian people and the Iranian government, more importantly, are going to change and they're going to give up their evil ways. So they're banking on the fact that Iran is probably not going to cheat. And by the time it does get nukes, it'll have changed. But if they're wrong, they've placed a huge bet on this. And if they're wrong and Iran does cheat and doesn't change, they have created a Frankenstein monster in the Middle East, a country that will be economically dominant, a country which will try to be the expansionist hegemonic power in the region, establishing a Shiite caliphate over the region, going after Israel, controlling the shipping lanes where oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and at the same time getting nuclear weapons. Now, the other countries in the region look at that and say, wait a minute, Iran is doing all of this with America's blessing. Therefore, we're on our own. Therefore, we probably need nuclear arsenals of our own. Then they can buy nuclear weapons because it's only a matter of price.
Right.
They got plenty of money. And so they buy nuclear weapons, and then flash forward a year or two, some of those countries may be overthrown by ISIS.
None of these scenarios sound good. And here's the other thing. I see that right now that the Iranians and the Russians are cozying up to one another, and it looks like the Russians are now willing to give them and sell them advanced surface-to-air missiles. Now, the one thing that we always had sort of in our back pocket is if push came to shove, we could go in there and take out some of their nuclear sites and put them back a ways. Yeah. But not if they have advanced surface-to-air missiles.
Correct. that is why I think the agreement from the very get-go was unenforceable for two reasons. One, by the time market forces took over and sanctions were dropped and countries and companies started the contracts, there was a McDonald's in Tehran, an iPhone Apple store in Tehran. They were buying the Russian weapons and they were selling the Chinese oil, that they would be very difficult to reimpose any sanctions or roll it back. So the other argument was, well, if Iran cheats, we're going to reimpose the sanctions. Okay, that's unrealistic. If Iran cheats, we always have the military option. Well, it now turns out you probably don't even have that, because with the delivery of this S-300, it's a state-of-the-art missile defense system, so it could shoot down missiles or aircraft on its way to Iran to execute this military option. It becomes extremely difficult. So I don't see that this is an enforceable agreement, because you can't reimpose the sanctions and you're going to soon lose the military option. So why should Iran abide by it? They've got what they want, right? They've got their anywhere from $60 to $120 billion signing bonus. They've rebuilt their infrastructure. Their economy is terrific. They're trading with the world. Why not also get their nukes? No penalty.
Katie McFarland, always good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.